Welcome to Secure the Deed podcast. I am your host, Laisha Bailey, and today I am here with a real estate renaissance man, Quinton Sr., who is a real estate transaction manager for Cleveland Neighborhood Progress and also owner of Destined for Greatness Realty in Cleveland. Welcome to the show, Quinton. How are you?
Thank you so much, Laisha. I am honored and privileged to be here with you today.
Yes. Thank you for being here. I am so delighted for our conversation today. I know that you are multifaceted in real estate, but also your passion and commitment to community and putting that first. So before I keep going on about you, why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourself, your journey, and how you got involved in real estate?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Quinton Green, Sr. I'm a United States Army veteran. I'm also a licensed realtor, been a licensed realtist for over 10 years now. And I'm an urban planner and developer, getting my master's degree in urban planning and development from Cleveland State University. I'll be graduating in May, which I'm extremely excited about.
Congratulations.
Because that's been definitely
Congratulations.
Yes. Enduring journey. But I'm also, as you said, I'm the real estate transactions manager for Cleveland Neighborhood Progress. So I've been doing that for a little bit over 2 years now. Okay. And so I'm involved in their middle neighborhood initiative. In just under 2 years, we've been able to make great strides with our initiative with, housing revitalization in those specific neighborhoods. So that's been a great experience as well. But also moving into my own real estate development project as an emerging developer. So we can get into that, I guess. As we go in. But just doing a lot. Been in real estate for a long time, and excited to be here to talk more about my work today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. It's a lot that we're going to touch on. There's so much in that introduction, but I just want to kind of go back a little bit and talk about your work with Cleveland Neighborhood Progress for you throughout middle neighborhoods. I remember that coming on as kind of a policy push and initiative across the country in specific type of communities like Cleveland and things like that after the downturn. And there were communities that were on the verge of going from kind of stable to declining, and really a push towards those communities where you have a lot of middle income folks living in those neighborhoods, but they're kind of in transition in some areas of the community, et cetera. And just with that, if you could talk a little bit more about CNP's programming around that. What areas are you looking at in the city of Cleveland that are tagged middle neighborhoods, and let people understand what that is?
Right, yeah, and it's definitely it's a national initiative, in the middle neighborhoods, and that it really started before I even got there, but it kind of expanded once I got there, because we were able to build our team, in terms of having an actual general contractor, having somebody who actually knows how to do the finance and the compliance. And then somebody like me who knows how to do, the marketing and the sales and acquisition and disposition of the properties.
Sure.
So once Cleveland Neighborhood Progress was able to put together that team, that's when, they really were able, we really was able to see momentum. But the middle neighborhoods, like you said, it's not so much, neighborhoods that are at market rate, but they're actually not to the point where they're extremely declining, not seeing any investment at all. Sure. Right. So just, from a community standpoint, you want to try to strengthen those neighborhoods to get to the market, to get to market rate. So that way, it strengthens the market, and then you can kind of move into the more opportunity zone type areas that really need the more catalytic type investments. And so, that's really the overall idea. We focus on, neighborhoods on the east and the west side of Cleveland. So couple neighborhoods like Lee Harvard on the southeast side is a neighborhood that we're working in. We've been very successful going in and acquiring homes that's been blighted and just left to just to decay, and we've been able to acquire those, fully renovate them and sell them to owner occupants, to be able to strengthen those markets. And same thing in North Collinwood. We're doing the same thing over there as well. And west side is like West Park.
Okay.
We've been in the Jefferson Puritas area. So just different neighborhoods, and over time, as these markets strengthen, we want to be able to expand. And bring some of the other neighborhoods up as well into that quote unquote, kind of middle neighborhood.
Typography type of thing. Yeah, and I heard you say owner occupied. So outcome of the programming, once you get a property, you rehab it, put it back on market. The objective is to get owner occupancy. See, here at Security, that's what we're all about, is making sure we're growing and providing information to folks about home ownership, programming around the city, what organizations are doing, because Cleveland in itself is like a model for kind of your neighborhood nonprofits who do a lot of work in different communities. Whereas if you go to other cities, it's not a lot of that going on, but we kind of are one of those cities that have kind of a neighborhood development organization for each, kind of community. But just so that people are aware, if there's a home in their neighborhood, like you mentioned, Lee Harvard, southeast side of Cleveland, I know the mayor is very focused on that area. But someone currently living there in that community who would like to become a homeowner, can they reach out to CMP for the houses that they have listed to find out how they can get in that? How does that work to connect the people in the community to the housing in the community?
Yeah, so in terms of the houses that we have like for sale, they can, we have. So what we really have is Love Cleveland neighborhoods.
And so more about that.
Yeah, so I definitely really want to talk about Love Cleveland neighborhoods, because Love Cleveland neighborhood is really telling the story behind the marketing and actually why we're doing the things that we're doing. Right? It's not just about going in and flipping a house. Right? That's not what it's about. We actually trying to really bring community in and really stabilize neighborhoods and stabilize markets by providing homes that has all the modern amenities that the same houses in the suburbs would have. Yeah. Right. So the Love Cleveland neighborhoods is really about telling the story of each neighborhood and why it is special, but also, attracting people back to Cleveland. Yes. And, so that, we can have that density that we used to have.
Yeah, for sure. Yes.
When you used to be able to walk down the sidewalk and you see, children playing and you see actually people, outside.
Yeah. Storefronts.
Right.
All of that.
Storefronts,
bringing all that back.
Activating commercial corridors and things like that. Yes. So those are all the things that we're doing at Cleveland Neighborhood Progress.
Okay. And just to talk about that a little bit, walkability. I think a study just came out saying like people are willing to pay a premium to live in walkable communities. How are you thinking about that as you all think about your development and bringing in commercial, working with some of maybe the renovation funding and things out there to draw not only residents, but also people who want to start a business and be a resident in the community? How are you seeing that kind of work?
Yeah, so that's actually a good point. That's like our main strategy, when it comes to activating these neighborhoods, is really identifying residential homes that need to be renovated, but also strategically, finding homes that are close to the neighborhood corridor. So that way, to the commercial corridor, so that way you create that walkability within the neighborhood, so that way you don't have to get in your car and drive out of the neighborhood for the things that you need. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Because right now you pretty much have to get in your car and drive out of your neighborhood to get basic, things basic services or basic products that you need every day. And so, so identifying those commercial corridors and identifying the homes that are connected to those corridors to be able to create that vibrancy within the neighborhood.
And I know earlier, again, I'm a realtist, you're a realtist. We talked about that. And just again, as a reminder for the people, Realtist was formed in 1947 because Black real estate professionals could not join realtors. We have since been allowed to join realtors, and we are realtors and realtists. Realtists just come from a standpoint of putting community first. And so obviously that aligns with the mission of how you're doing. We talked about your work at CMP, but just kind of on a personal level, because you own Destined for Greatness Realty. You're doing things in the community. You're an emerging developer. You are seeing in your, Cleveland Neighborhood Progress roles, kind of the needs of the community, et cetera. How are you linking that to what you're doing personally for your business and your legacy and growing our communities as well?
Yeah, definitely. The opportunity to work at Cleveland Neighborhood Progress has really been a great one. Because prior to working with them, I was really just full-time entrepreneur. Growing my own business, and I was still making connections and things like that. But having that position now, it just gave me like a different type of visibility in terms of showing my value, and showing my skill set just at a higher level. Yeah. So it's been great for me, and also getting my master's degree at Cleveland State it really opened up my network as well. Because I was able to get mentorship from people who works in the city, from people who works in community development, people who works in neighborhood and economic development, things like that. So it really was just about building relationships, building those relationships. I had to start with that first to really even see, what my trajectory could be, with my own mission. And so once I was able to do that, that led me to be able to advance my real estate development project by actually getting control of the site and being able to buy, the land that I wanted to buy, which was huge.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I was able to acquire pretty much half of the street that I grew up on as a kid.
Where did you grow up? What neighborhood?
So I grew up in the Mount Pleasant neighborhood.
Okay.
On the southeast side of Kinsman. Yeah, on the southeast side. And so right on Kinsman and Martin Luther King.
Okay.
Is where I grew up.
Okay.
And so, just working with the city and being able to have, credibility from my positions and, my experiences in the past, it definitely helped me get to the point that I am now in my development. And, my development is really just about revitalizing a neighborhood that's literally disappeared.
Yeah.
So it's about restoring legacy, restoring culture, and restoring pride to a neighborhood.
Absolutely.
That's 100% what it's about.
That's what it's about for us and also as realtors. But so, it's Black History Month. And we'd be remiss if we didn't kind of touch on a little bit of the history and real estate as Black professionals and even just in our community in general. What we continue to hear is, and know is that the Black homeownership rate has not changed since basically civil rights era, still hanging around that 40-ish%. So when I say that to you, what is that kind of evoking, and what would you tell to the people on who want to be homeowners and kind of the fight of like getting across that finish line so they can secure that deed?
Yeah, definitely. I would say, if you are somebody that's thinking about truly becoming a homeowner and securing that deed, you have to start with the financial literacy, because I truly believe that's why, the numbers aren't where they could be, is because just the amount of financial literacy that we have, just as a community. And I think that the information is being shared, but I think it could be shared even better. I really do. And I think, people like us, the practitioners, the people who have the knowledge, I think, we just have to continue to put out the knowledge, tell them about the resources that's available as well, right? Because so many people are in positions to be homeowners and they just don't know. They just don't even know. They're like, wow, 100%. I didn't even know like I was qualified, to buy a home, my cousin, who is more like my brother, I just helped him purchase his first home, and he was like, cause I didn't even know like I was able to do this, and I was like, I told you could do this.
Exactly.
And he's actually, his mortgage is less than what he was paying for his other residence, so now he owns a home, he's paying less money, and that's just a
win-win,
right? It's amazing. So if I can help 100 more people do that, and actually change their lives and be proud of the home that they they're proud of the roof that's over their head, that's just the mission. So
yeah, and one of the things too about the journey to home ownership, a lot of times folks talk about having the lump sum. They believe you got to have 20% down, or they hear that, but there's so much programming, especially if you complete, to your point, financial literacy with some of the financial institutions. Third Federal, our sponsor, they have the Home Today program. You come out of that program, you can get funding towards your down payment assistance.
I actually did that program.
You did the program? Shout out to Third Federal and the Home Today program.
Yes, I did. I did the Third Federal Home Today program probably about 10 years ago, but I remember I did, and so did my wife and I did it together.
See? And so you live in proof that you can.
And I learned so much.
And you learn so much. You got in position, and now not only do you own your home, et cetera, but now you're trying to get people into homes. And so I think, when we talk about, where we come from, being redlined, disinvestment in predominantly Black communities, steering, getting people away from us as we're seeking to buy homeownership. And I just recently went to Columbus, and we were talking about just experience as Black real estate professionals, how in those times when we weren't allowed to really be realtors, if we had clients, you couldn't even walk through the house. You had to buy sight unseen. Your customer will have to buy sight unseen across the street to view the home. You couldn't even walk through the house. And so it's really important, for us as realtors, just to not only remember that, but also, to your point, there are resources that we have to push the information out. And that's what we're trying to do with this podcast here. And so you being on what you do with Cleveland Neighborhood Progress and your own business, again, it's just providing more information to the people. And so I just want to talk a little bit about the development piece, because we're in a state now where we know affordability is at an all-time low. The need for housing is at all-time high. So we definitely have some market dynamics going on that is not, working for us. But just to kind of talk about development, past guests that we had on, I asked the same question I'm going to ask you is, what type of housing do you think is needed? And where do you see kind of more gaps in the current housing supply and what people are saying from a lifestyle perspective that they need? And how are you thinking about that around development?
Yeah, so I mean, what I see, the main thing that we're missing in every community that you ride past in the city of Cleveland is just what we call like missing middle housing. So it's anything from 1 to 4 units, right? Because anything that's 1 to 4 units, it gives a homeowner an opportunity to have economic development for themselves.
Talk about that a little bit more.
And it makes it affordable, right? So if I'm a homeowner and I'm a first time home buyer, if I'm able to buy a 3 unit, if I'm able to buy a 3 unit structure or a 4 unit structure, then now I have the opportunity to own a home, but I also have the opportunity to make income and start to generate wealth and extra income on the side. Because if I'm renting out those units, then I'm paying my mortgage, but I also have extra money that I can invest. I can start a business. I can start to do other things with, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And so I believe that's what we're missing. My development is bringing that sort of kind of light density to the neighborhood.
Yep.
And because mine are essentially they're single structures, but they have what you call it's a converted garden style apartment.
Okay.
So it's like an ADU.
Okay.
Right. And
okay.
ADUs is something that's nationally being pushed.
Yeah.
Accessory dwelling units.
Yep.
So anytime you can add that sort of ADU dynamic into your development, it's most likely going to favor well with whatever municipality, just because that's the type of development that most cities want to try to add to neighborhoods to try to add that density.
That density back, because we are so spread out, Cuyahoga County specifically. We keep developing further out, but there is a return to the inner city. But I think we're seeing a demographic shift, whereas before it was predominantly white in the suburbs, and now a lot of predominantly white folks are coming back to the city, and we're kind of staying on the outskirts. But just to your point about how a way to get started in home ownership without, but also kind of starting your own investment as well. So talk a little bit about investing, and what do you think is the key in kind of using that for home ownership, where you buy a unit 1 to 4, you live in one, 3 other folks are paying rent. You save on paying for your mortgage, or maybe you have some extra revenue coming in monthly, but just an investment piece as well. I know you're passionate about that, and getting people to not only own homes, but utilize real estate to build their generational wealth. So if you talk a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's really how I really got into the investment space. Is I bought a multifamily property. Right, that was the first thing that I did. I used to watch videos and podcasts, kind of like how we doing now, and everybody keep talking about this thing. You can house hack, and you can be able to start to build wealth in real estate through this process. And so, that's exactly how I got started. I bought a 4-unit building, lived in 1 unit, fixed it up, and was able to provide housing for other people who needed it. I was able to, get partnerships with CMHA and provide Section 8 housing and all of these good things. And so once I was able to do that, it just changed my life. It changed the way that I looked at money and everything.
Absolutely.
Like I'm telling you, if you start to invest in real estate and you're able to start to receive any sort of like passive rental income, it will change the way you look at money, because you can now understand like, wow, I have the power, to be able to build wealth through real estate, and you're also providing an essential service.
Exactly.
That's another reason why I fell in love with real estate, because it's like, okay, yeah, you can make a ton of money, you can flip houses and be a landlord and all this stuff, but at the end of the day, we're providing an essential service.
We are.
As realtors, and as, landlords and property managers, you're providing a service for people.
Yeah.
Which at the end of the day is most important.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
and I think to that point, again, the community aspect and understanding, to your point, we're providing an essential service. Yes, it's cool, and you see the people on social media like, okay, this is how you do housing, get rich, da da da. But essentially, the fabric of community is making sure that people are well informed, that people have safe and sustainable housing, and that they can take those next steps without, whatever they owned or hold deteriorating in the neighborhood. Because there should be someone in position to kind of replace as people, seek to do other things. And so I think that's definitely a good way to get started. That's kind of how I got started in my own investment. I bought a 2-family and rented out one, live in the unit as well. So that does kind of help with affordability too, and just the ability to get started. So then another piece around investing. I know you're passionate, and we see the numbers with Black men not buying housing at a rate that we see other demographics buying housing. And what can we do to really help support that? I know you said financial literacy, but I think another aspect of that is that sometimes men have a view of like, I don't have a family yet, right? So I'm not ready for that big investment. Like I'll get to it, but delaying it costs them what, in your opinion?
You said the what cost?
Like delaying.
Oh, delaying investing.
Investing or getting into real estate, buying a home. What does it cost them, in your opinion?
Well, yeah, I think the longer you wait to invest in real estate, I think you kind of just giving your leverage away. You know what I mean? Because I've purchased real estate, that I might have overpaid for a little bit, right? But at the end of the day, as time goes on, that appreciation, appreciation is always, most times, is going to beat whatever the rates is doing. You understand what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. Yep.
So it's like, if you're waiting to buy real estate, that's cool. You can stay on the sideline and watch, but it's like that time that you didn't own, that's your appreciation. That's your equity. Yeah. Right. Because time is equity too.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
100%. Time is money.
Time is the most, the largest commodity that we have.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So if you're waiting to buy real estate, you're losing out on your equity. Yeah. Right. You're just losing out on equity. So, if you have the means, and you have, you're informed enough on whatever that investment is, I wouldn't wait.
Yeah, definitely don't wait. Again, to your point, stand on the sideline. It does cost you, because we just saw it, right? The pandemic hit, prices have skyrocketed. So what you could have paid for a house in 2018, you can't even enter the conversation at that level anymore. The average sales price, median, so all of that is up. And that's why we have the issues we have around affordability as well. So it's also tax time. Black History Month and tax time is coincidence. And so just to that point, again, we are not financial advisors. We are real estate professionals, but we understand through this business, we understand the financial literacy. We understand, just our communities as well, and how sometimes when you have that lump sum and you're thinking about certain things, when you're talking about getting prepared to buy a home, you talk about financial literacy, the homestay program you personally went through. We have HUD-approved financial counselors. Somebody who's watching right now is like, I'm tired of renting. I'm looking, I'm just ready to take that next step. Tax time came, I got a lump sum. What would you just say to them in order to just begin to prepare, right? Like, so that maybe by summer, fall, they're in a home, or maybe they bought their investment property and did the model we talk about.
Yeah, definitely. I would say, now I just helped the client too. I helped the client. I don't even think it took 6 months, really. Okay. Everybody's financial profile is different and everything, but I don't even think it took, I think anybody can really do it in 6 months. But I think the first thing, if you really want to purchase a home, I always tell people just to get your financial physical.
And right? What does that entail?
Your financial physical is just pulling your credit profile, right? That's the easiest thing for anybody, just to be able to look at their financial resume, is to just go to freecreditreport.com and pull a free credit report, right? Because at that point you can see what's in collections. You can see where your late payments are. You can see, what's being reported incorrectly. You can see, if your personal information is not correct on there. You can see all these different things, and then at that point, you can see, the things that you need to correct in order to go and speak with a mortgage lender to actually get a pre-approval. So I always tell people to start there, because what you don't want to do is, go get excited because you're watching this video and go and run out and talk to a lender,
right?
When you could have kind of already done some of that homework first before going to talk to a lender. So I always tell people, pull your credit report. Let's look through that, and then we can see what we need to. What we need to address before we even go and talk to a lender.
Yeah, and get you referred to the right resources. Because being and working with the realtors, we're informed we have these partnerships and resources, and we just want to make sure people don't skip that step. To your point. Because you can go to a lender and they'll be like, oh, okay, you got to do this, or no, you're good to go. But again, we always talk about affordability. What can you really afford, and what the true nature of the matter is. And another thing we kind of combat is, we always talk about house before the car, and we and we understand, like we just said, we're spread out. People need cars. People need reliable transportation to get to work, this and that. So we're definitely not saying, okay, like, just forget a car, but it's about, okay, what's the priority? Where are you trying to go? Because you'll get the house, and I promise you, you'll get that car. And so that's another thing we kind of talk about around this time of year. It's like making sure you're making the most of the funds based on the goals and priorities you have for yourself. So but is there anything that you would just like to tell the people while you have, Security Podcast, a platform that you just want people to know as they're navigating home ownership, as they're navigating, or even right now they're just currently renting, but they want to get there? Is there something you would like to tell them to help them on their journey?
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely say, even with the lens and the fabric of the politics and everything going on right now, I think it is so many resources for people who want to become homeowners right now. Just from a lending standpoint, but also from a community and public standpoint. There are so many resources and programs. I'm privy to a lot of meetings and conversations. There are a lot of resources available. So I would just tell people to really tap into them, use the resources, use the local, the people in your community, the local leaders, the realtors in your community. If you're interested in a home, really reach out. Don't be afraid, because there's so many resources available right now.
Absolutely.
So that's something that I would definitely say. And, I would also just say that I'm super excited about all the work that I'm doing with the development on the Southeast side.
Yes.
The Mount Pleasant neighborhood is one of the most underinvested neighborhoods in all of the city of Cleveland. Yeah. So I want to definitely shine a light, on that neighborhood this year. So definitely be on the lookout for that.
It's definitely a lot of initiatives and investment aimed towards that area. Like we said, Southeast side with the mayor, CMP middle neighborhoods and things like that. So it definitely has some attention, and it just takes, again, more investment, resource, and people connected to the mission of making sure that sector of Cleveland is sustainable and for future generations, positioned in a place where it can continue to grow and thrive. So how can people reach CMP? You have a website, or how they can look at your programming or housing? How can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so definitely in terms of CMP, you can look up clevelandneighborhoodprogress.org, or you can also look up Love Cleveland. Love Cleveland is a great website. It gives you like so much information on every neighborhood in the city of Cleveland. Like anybody that's interested, in the city of Cleveland, definitely want to check out Love Cleveland Neighborhoods.
Is there an Instagram or social media?
Yep, it's an Instagram. Love Cleveland Neighborhoods on Instagram.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, Love Cleveland Neighborhood. And then as far as me, I'm Q.G_DFG on Instagram, Quinton Green on LinkedIn, and I'm just doing the work every single day. And,
Absolutely.
I'm just excited for what's coming next.
Yes. Thank you for coming today. We really appreciate you being here. Thank you for tuning in to Secure the Deed podcast. We hope to see you again soon. Again, we're taking those strides, making those next steps. Don't give up on your journey, because we're going to be here, and we'll see you next time.